Logan Wilson, when he's done, might be a co-host of one of these podcasts here. I love Logan Wilson. All right, we got now John Cunningham, athletics director at the University of Cincinnati. We're just sharing how impressed we've been with the student athletes that have joined us so far.
Yeah, I was listening to all the ones that you've had on and will have on, and that's an impressive list. We have a lot of them around here, so I'm glad you're letting them do their thing. They're pretty special people.
They are. We've had a great time, and I'm partial to Logan Wilson. Keegan likes the baseball guys because he's a baseball guy.
No doubt. Well, and they've been fun to watch. Yeah.
The volleyball ladies were great as well, and being my connection to volleyball, it was good getting to know them also.
Yeah, I'm glad. I when I was walking out, I saw Daniela leaving, so I'm glad you're getting to know her a little bit. She's going to be really good for our program, and just kind of a dynamic person, a cool background. So I'm glad you're able to ask her some questions about that team for next year.
Yeah, and we got to complain about our hate for the fact that these girls wear their knee pads below their knees and then dive and wonder why their knees hurt.
I don't get that either. I don't know. I'm back in the day where you had big, huge, thick knee pads that were worn on the knees. So I don't know. I don't know what changed, but same thing with the pads on cornerbacks, right? Like they become just like biker shorts. So I don't know. They must not need their knee pads on the cornerback side of things either. But who knows?
All right, let's get to it, John. As we get into, there's never any slow time. May might, now that the way the portal is kind of played out, like May might be the slowest month, but there's never anything slow that happens in college athletics anymore, right?
That's right. And to be honest, for me, because of the pending House case that isn't quite settled yet, it hasn't been that slow, because we continue to talk about what that's going to look like if and when it gets done. I think it is going to get done. I'm very confident of that, but we're still kind of waiting on Judge Wilkin in that courtroom in California to make a decision. And then from there, we get to put into place all the things that we've been working on for a long time. So this summer is not going to be a quiet summer in any stretch of the imagination. And it's going to be a lot of prep on what college athletics will look like going forward. And, we're going to be ready for it. So we've got a good plan in place and ready to break glass when we're supposed to break glass on that one.
Speaking of that plan and kind of divulging what you can at the very least, as someone who's tried to follow this and kind of, what's going to happen when it's put in rolling, what would be the steps that you would then take as an athletic department kind of going forward with this revenue sharing? Because I know obviously you have the back pay part of it. Is that kind of the first thing you get out ahead of, and then you kind of approach everything else?
The back pay part is fairly simple because it comes from the conference. It's a bill from the conference. So we will pay the bill when we receive it, and it's spread out over 10 years. And so we know that we'll get a bill somewhat soon after it gets done. So that's probably the easiest portion, just not because it's expensive, but it's a budgetary thing. Everything else is about putting into place, and really, to be honest with you, and we're not alone. Everybody's been operating this way because the contracts, the NIL contracts and things had to be sort of prepped and ready over the last few months. We've gone ahead and got everything ready to go, and have had conversations with the people we've had to have conversations with to go ahead and kind of transfer from a Cincy Reigns model, a collective model, to an in-house revenue share model. And so all of that's been in the works, and a lot of it, to be honest with you, is legal based. And so our OGC's office, I give a huge amount of credit to how much time and effort they're putting in, our general counsel here on campus to help us get that done. And then we transitioned Trevor Wright, who ran our compliance office for several years. We transitioned him out of the compliance office to run an in-house unit to deal with NIL and support our GMs in both football and men's, women's basketball and baseball, volleyball.
Gotcha.
Pretty sure Trevor's going to be on with us later tonight, so we might be able to ask him a little bit more about that and what that's been like for him. I'm surprised Keegan didn't tee off with baseball, but baseball's been on fire. Coach Bishel has been one hell of a hire by you. Little hat tip there. But baseball hosts Kansas State this weekend. They're doing the Thursday, Friday, Saturday instead of the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. IU obviously got canceled here today, but they got to win at least one, maybe two to get in.
This is the classic one game at a time. I think you're trying to win all three, obviously, and you think you can at home. We've been so good at home, but yeah, you got to perform your best right now. I mean, this is the time. We're right there on the bubble. And Kansas State is a team that is kind of right there with us, in terms of being potentially a bubble team. Maybe they're in, but certainly a good RPI team. So any win over Kansas State this weekend is going to certainly help us, and we got to go perform. And then we got to get ready and go do what we can in the Big 12 tournament in Arlington. It's single elimination, which is odd for college baseball. It's odd for baseball. And I think they're just going to do that this year and then change it going forward. But this year it's single elimination. So we got to go down there and try to do some damage too. And then I think we do those things, we're going to be in great shape. Our numbers, our metrics are really, really good. Strength of schedule is really strong. RPI is really good. We've got great wins over, Duke and Louisville and, the sweep of Kansas, all those good things. So, I think we're positioning ourselves, to get in and to get in pretty easily as long as we take care of business here with the remaining schedule.
And this is your last time to see the Bearcats at home this season. You got your Cincy Koozie giveaway on Thursday, mental health awareness game on Friday, and then the senior day and season ticket holder appreciation game. You got tickets available for all three games currently.
We do. I cannot emphasize enough. And that's really if I have one message today, it's this, come out and support the baseball program this weekend. They've been so good all year, such an exciting brand of baseball. The way that Coach Bishop plays the game, guys are going to get on base, guys are going to move around the bases, just a fun atmosphere. And there's just no reason to not get over to our baseball stadium and check them out. We need you. We need to pack that place all 3 days. And, I think this team and some of its great student athletes like Carrington Cross deserve it. And it's going to be his senior day. He's a future Hall of Famer. I mean, he's somebody that we got to support the heck out of, maybe the Big 12 Player of the Year. So come out and support that group all weekend. Let's pack the house all 3 days.
Kind of touching back on Coach Bishop, but I think I remember in your intro press conference for him that one of the bigger things that you liked about him was that he'd won everywhere that he had been. So kind of from what you knew about him coming in, what has surprised you about him, or maybe caught you off guard about what he can kind of provide as your baseball coach, and like getting to know him as a person? What has shocked you about him?
Yeah. That's a great question. He's obviously, I knew he was an accountant, and that has played itself out. I mean, he's so detailed. If you get an email from Jordan Bishop, it's not gonna. You got to sit down and grab a cup of coffee and take a while, because it's going to be a couple pages long and it's detailed. And I mean, you should see we're doing one-sheeters now to the baseball committee and talking about the things, and he breaks down everything, and I love him for that. I think maybe what surprised me is just, he has a way about him with the team that I just really, I think that they buy into. He has a calmness about him, but yet a strength at the same time. And I like those combinations in coaches, and he demonstrates that. So, I think the team really enjoys playing Bearcat baseball, and it shows in the dugout, it shows on the field. And so I would give him a lot of credit for just how he goes about his day-to-day, interaction with the young guys, and staying relevant to them, and keeping baseball a top priority.
Yeah,
you're going to be able to get him the Diet Mountain Dew sponsorship that he so much desires.
I know he loves it. I worry about it because I know it's not super healthy for him, but I guess we'll let him just keep going with that, because it seems to be working. So we won't dial him back to water just yet. We'll get him some Mountain Dew.
Yeah, there are worse ways to go than Diet Mountain Dew. That would probably be one of my preferred ways, if I'm being honest. But touching on the house settlement again, you guys have been at a half share for a while from the Big 12. Now, when this revenue thing hits, is it gonna kind of normalize for you, and you guys get the full share pretty soon? From a financial standpoint, it's normal.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Normal in the sense that we are equal to everybody in the Big 12 in
Okay.
every way financially, which is good. Obviously, when you get an opportunity to get into a Power Five conference, you jump at it, and so we took a half share for 2 years, knowing the third year we would be at full. And so couldn't happen at a better time, to be honest, because we do have the revenue share model coming, which is an expense, a huge expense for our department. We need as much help as we can to fulfill the full share and allow us to compete at the highest level in every single one of our sports. So that's the Impact Fund. We've talked about that before, and we'll continue to talk about that. But that's exactly what the Impact Fund does. If you think of sort of where Cincy Reigns was in terms of putting money into a collective, that moves to our university now. If House passes again, I believe it will. And once that happens, then the Impact Fund goes to paying the revenue share. So all those things being said, you're back to your question. Yes, full member share. We've always felt very much that we were a full member in every other way other than the bottom line. But now we don't have to worry about that anymore, and we can get the full share.
Gotcha.
There have been some ADs around the conference and around the country that have talked about having to reorganize and restructure because it's money that they were already getting that they're not accounting for. They're having to find new ways to account for that 20 million coming out. Are you in a unique position because you haven't been spending that extra $20 million yet?
Yeah, that's we talk about that quite a bit, which is the one advantage we have to being a half share and now a full share is that we do have a new revenue stream. And so kind of the simple math on that is we're able to thank you to the university. We're able to take the new revenue from the television contract that will be about $16 million more than we got the previous year and put that 16 toward the 20.5, if that makes sense. That's real simple math. And then that gap between the 16 and the 20.5 million is what we have to go fundraise. And that's where this Impact Fund comes into play, to making sure that we can be a full share member. And, we have great donors, but at the highest level we always have. And I think what we need to do more is really build out that middle base, and we need to build out our larger extended fan base. Every amount matters, and we have 350,000 alumni. And if everybody does a little bit, we're going to be in great shape to compete at the highest level. And right now, I always say money's not everything, but it's right up there with oxygen, and we got to have it. And we need to support our programs at that level. And so we're expanding our UCATS division. We're adding 3 or 4 new people. We're adding a gentleman named Tristan that will come in from Virginia Tech that's ran their major gift program at Virginia Tech for 8 years, and he's going to help us kind of revitalize and take a different approach and a new approach to fundraising that's going to be more at that Power 5 level. And so we're really excited about that addition and the expansion of our UCATS team.
Moving to the revenue sports, football, men's, women's basketball, it's been a tough transition. I think, you want to compete for championships right away, but there was an understanding that you've got to build up when you're going from, the level that you were at in the American into the Big 12. Is this now okay? We've gone a couple cycles through in football and basketball in the Big 12. We feel like we are financially where we want to be in supporting the programs, and let's see this thing kind of ramp up and get to that level of competing for quality bowl games and football championships and basketball, men's NCAA tournament, women's NCAA tournament. Like, is it at that point where it's like, okay, we've got our bearing, we've had some success, maybe not enough, but we've acclimated ourselves, and now it's time to hit the gas, if you will.
Yeah, Chad, I feel that way, and I certainly think everybody feels that way. I thought the other day I was watching golf, and they say, you know, Saturday the third round is moving day.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like our third year in the Big 12 can be our moving day. You know, it's our chance to tighten some things up. You know, I feel like, you know, if you just break down, we competed in football, we beat Arizona State, we competed, but we didn't do the little things to win, and we lost close games, and we didn't win the home games that we needed to win. But at the same time, you know, we go out and we do some things in the offseason that I think really sure us up. I think we've been able to stabilize our program the right way, which is we retained a lot of our top players, some of whom you're going to have on today. We've got a returning quarterback that's had a whole bunch of snaps, and we strengthened our offensive line and our receiving core and our defensive backfield. You know, we made some changes that we think are going to help us in special teams. So all those things is what you have to do to take that next step. And so I absolutely, and everybody should have the expectation that we do take that next step. And then basketball, obviously it's a little bit different because there's not a stabilizing force right now in basketball. It's, you got to go into the portal and you got to build a team, and everybody in the country, if you saw the amount of movement, everybody in the country has to go build a team year by year. And so I'm really proud of Wes. I'm proud of you know, bringing on Corey as our general manager, and all of our assistants for really getting out there and hammering the portal. I think we've done amazing work. I think we've got a great product and team coming back, and I know Wes is excited as he kind of maps out what this group is going to look like. And so I think those two things were really important in this offseason, and I feel really good going into our third year. You know, we know the competition now. We've seen it a couple times, and I think it's our time. It's a moving year for us, and I believe that.
Was last year maybe a learning experience in basketball player acquisition costs? Because I know there was a feeling last year going into that offseason that in pretty good shape, and then when you really start to dig down into the conference, you go, oh, maybe we didn't realize how much money that, you know, the top 6 or 7 or whatever in the conference had. Were you able to mentally kind of better prepare for that coming into this offseason, that this league's going to spend in basketball and going to spend at a very high level, especially a couple of them?
Yeah, I think there's an argument it might spend at the highest level, to be honest with you, across the board, top to bottom. Certainly there's SEC programs at the top that are going to spend a lot, but top to bottom, it might be the conference that spends the most in men's basketball. So yes, I think there's a little bit of that. I mean, obviously I think, you know, a lot of lessons learned, and I give Wes a lot of credit for sitting back down and really evaluating exactly what worked and what didn't. I think 2 injuries, you know, you could maybe say 3, but 2 for sure, with Tyler McKinley going down. He was going to add some needed depth, and you know, we needed size and we didn't have it coming down the stretch. And then I think Connor Hickman's injury hurt us as well. Again, a shooter, somebody that we were counting on to come in and hit some key shots. And you know, I mean, it didn't help that Daniel got hurt early. And we had other injuries as well, but you're always going to have some injuries. So what did that teach us? We got to build more depth. We're going to have some depth on this roster, and probably some size depth that we didn't have. We saw that, and Wes mentioned it. We saw it against Iowa State. They were big, but they were big and deep at you know, at those positions. And so I think that those are the types of things that we see. But you got to also, again, it's just kind of a mix. You got to find that right mix in men's basketball. And we've had great donor support, and we've asked for more in this portal, because this portal specifically was more money was spent than ever because of the fact that the House case wasn't resolved yet. It created an inflated market, I would say, where people were able to spend before the cap came into place with the House case. So there was a little bit of push to spend early. And, you know, again, I think it's probably, I believe, and I think ADs believe this thing is going to level set quite a bit as we go into next year and be more consistent across the board. Because as you mentioned, Chad, the thing that you were doing in the Big 12, you were trying to figure out what everybody was spending. You didn't know the game that was being played. And you would hear rumors one way or the other. I would hear rumors from ADs that they weren't spending near what the coaches were hearing, right? So it was interesting to hear that back and forth. But everybody kept their cards close to their vest, and some ADs, frankly, I don't even think knew what their collectives were spending, which is another interesting dynamic of it. So, it was tough. It was tough to build a roster. We relied probably more last year on some retention of some players. But we also realized in this league, man, you got to have depth, you got to have shooters, you got to have guys that can go in and put in some good minutes and rebound the ball. And so I think Wes has addressed a lot of those. We're really a very different team than we were last year. I think we had really good players last year. I think we're going to have really good players this year. But he's just organized it a little bit differently and focused in on some different things. And when you listen to him break it down, I get excited, and I know those that have heard him talk about the team coming up next year get excited about where we're going and what we're going to have to put out there.
I'm
interested. Go ahead, Keith. Go ahead.
Is there a player out of this transfer portal class for basketball that you're most excited about? If you'd be willing to single one out?
I never know enough, to be honest with you. I think it's interesting to hear Corey talk about it, as I've gotten to work with Corey Evans here a little bit. He's a really sharp dude, and he's got some thoughts on who he thinks might jump off the page. He said, I'll just share a little. He said the other day that Tillery is going to be hard to keep off the floor, right? And that's not one that a lot of people are talking about, but that's just one that, but obviously the big guy from UCF and the big guy from George Mason. And I'm a Kerr Kriisa believer, having seen him in Arizona. I remember going to Maui and playing against Kerr Kriisa, and I knew right away, I said, that's the dude you want on your team. And the guy that you root against when he's not on your team. And I think we need a little bit of that. I think we need a little bit of that toughness, that grit, and that leadership. But listen, Jizzle coming back, I think he can have that breakthrough year, and I think he did a little bit last year, but just that consistency, even more consistent and being even tougher. And same with Day. So we just have we're going to have a lot of different pieces and a lot of moving parts and things to plug in there. So I don't know enough, but I know what all you guys know, and I'll rely on Wes and others to figure out rotations and things.
You mentioned the GM. What is as an athletic director, you've got a GM in football, men's basketball. Are you moving in that direction in women's basketball? I don't know if
we have someone designated on their staff right now that's doing it. But yeah, certainly we're looking at that too.
What is the role of GM going forward? Is it more like a pro sports GM where they're in charge of the roster and the hiring and the firing, or is it more of a new evolution of what a GM looks like in college sports is different than maybe when you think of GM on the professional side?
I think it's the latter. I think it's a little bit of a hybrid model, just because of the way that college athletics is built, largely built around the head coach making decisions about rosters. And I think that works in college more just because of the youth of the players and the recruiting that takes place. There's still going to be a heavy recruiting element to college athletics, so head coaches are going to be heavily involved. I think the GM is slightly different depending on the sport. Certainly in basketball for Corey, and in women's basketball as well, it's going to be a lot about making sure you're working during the off season, working with agents, understanding what players they represent, working high schools, working international avenues, just getting to know people. And that's what Corey does so well is he's known by so many people in the basketball world already. So it gives him an opportunity to walk into meetings or to get a Zoom call or whatever with some key people that will be around the student athlete in terms of the recruiting process. So I think that's where he comes into play. On the football side, it probably is more it's certainly going to be agents. In fact, I was just talking to Jack in our recruiting office about his work with agents. It's going to be partly that you got to build relationships with these agents, but it's also going to be kind of that fundamental recruiting and evaluation of talent that those guys do so well, because the volume in football is so big. You got to go out, you got to find diamonds in the rough, and you got to find guys that can really play and guys that have the size. That's the big thing for our recruiting department right now in football is they want guys with certain frames, and then they know that they can fit those guys within our program and grow them from there. So I think it's slightly different, but and probably a hybrid between what you see in the pros and in college.
I'm sure your conversations with Corey and Zach are great. What are those conversations with Jack like?
Jack's so smart, man. That guy,
yes.
he's sneaky there, man. I like talking to Jack. I like talking to all those. I like talking to Zach. I like talking to all those guys because they work so hard. Guys, I don't know how, if you know, I mean, they have a real passion for identifying talent, and I just like that unit, and they grind at it. And yeah, Jack's got an interesting story and background and kind of a business mind, and just loves scouting and watching film and finding, transfers around the country. And so, yeah, if you ever have a chance, I don't know if you've had Jack on here, but he'd be a good one to have on.
We have, Zach was nervous, but Syke was nervous, but we made it work.
Oh, that's
So
hilarious.
you got to be nervous with that one because Jack tells the truth, man. He doesn't hold back. So,
I'm perfectly okay with it. It's great for what we do.
I know.
See, you kind of mentioned with basketball, with the revenue sharing model, it's going to kind of level stuff out a little bit and calm everything down. In terms of looking at macro college athletics, after the revenue share model, what's kind of on the top of your list, the top of most AD's list as the changes that need to be made or stuff that you guys would like to see adjusted in college athletics?
Transfer portal and transfer portal windows, how we go about that. Are we going to continue to have 2 transfer portal windows in football? I think there's a real movement to have one. What that looks like, and then what your calendar around football looks like based on that. Do you have a transfer window after spring ball? You kind of eliminate spring ball and go to more of a pro model where you have, kind of OTA type things going May, June, July. So there's just a lot of different theories and different things going on around football calendars and transfer portal windows. And I think that's going to be really, really important. I think the enforcement around the cap is going to be massively important. So can we figure out how we can prevent people from subverting the cap and getting around it through bogus NIL deals, those types of things. So, there's a clearinghouse process that all deals outside the cap are going to have to go through. The pro model has done that for a long time. They crack down when they need to, and they keep pretty good structure around it. We have to have the same type of structure around college athletics going forward so that we can all compete on the same wavelength and the same playing field. So I think those are kind of the things. So it's not just it's house, but then it's the things around house that we have to kind of shore up, and it's going to take some time. It's not going to be perfect right away. I think it's going to be progress over perfection for a few years. But we all know we got to get college athletics settled down, and we got to get structures around it and rules around it. We can't operate without rules.
Do you find yourself constantly learning about all this stuff? Because a lot of it to me just seems so hard to understand. So are you like constantly learning every day, or is this something that you have a prior expertise in that you're confident in?
No, I mean, I went to law school, but that was a long time ago. So I know just enough to get myself into trouble. And so this has been a learning experience for me, and a lot of really bright people that we work with all the time. And general counsels from the 4 different conferences have been heavily involved, kind of teaching us how this works and why something might work and why something might not work. And so the lawsuits will continue. I think we all recognize that there's a lot of different lawsuits out there, but we've got to get, we've got to get this house case settled. I think we really then have to push toward getting some protection from antitrust through Congress. the pro sports have that at some level. Doesn't have to be complete protection. We probably don't win that battle, but we got to get some sort of protection from Congress. And we've seen, the Trump administration actually step in and talk about forming a commission and doing some of those things. So I actually welcome all of that. I think anything where we can shine a light on college athletics, the importance of college athletics, not just the sports, you see on TV, but all of our sports, is going to be important. And people need to know what's going on. It's too good. We have something so precious to protect. We can't lose this. And there's ways that we can put some structure around football and men's basketball and women's basketball. And then that will allow all the other sports to continue and grow. And we can continue to dominate the Olympic Games like we have for so many decades.
Real quick, one more time, let everybody know how to come out this weekend, support the baseball program, and help them get into the regional.
Yeah, so we have it's not Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we need you out there. Coach Bishel and that team, again, some great seniors on that team. Carrington Cross is one that has been with us 5 years, started right when I started. And he's one of our all-time greats. He deserves a packed house in my mind, and that team just with everything they're doing. So get out there. We serve beer, on a nice night, have a beer, watch some Bearcat baseball, go beat the Wildcats, and punch our ticket to the NCAA tournament and a regional, and then follow the Bearcats all the way through. So I would promote that. I want to also say we've got our track program right now at the Big 12 Championships. We've had a great track season. With 4 individual champions and all kinds of great things going on with our track program. So follow that. And then Ryan Ford, right now we're on Ryan Ford watch, who's our men's golfer. And he's in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And he was the best individual right now. I think he's 3 under, he's battling right there toward the top of the leaderboard there in the second round. So he'll have one more round tomorrow to try to punch his ticket to the next round of NCAAs, the final round of NCAAs. So a lot of good things going on here late spring in Bearcat land, and just appreciate all the things you guys do. Really do. Love the way you support this program, and then obviously love this 513 day because it gets to highlight so many of our great people around this department.
One final thing before we let you go. Ring of Honor, honoring basketball, any progress? We've asked you that in the past. You said you guys are working on it. I get asked about it constantly, so I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair. There is progress. Again, I put together a group that works on it all the time. So we've got a committee that was formed that involves some former athletes, some a media person as well, and some of our employees here that have been around the program for a long time. So we're trying to get all the information, and then we want to make the right decisions at the right time. So it's not only about getting the right people in, but it's also the timing of it and making sure that you put the right person in at the right time ahead of somebody else and all those good things. So we're working on all that. I think you're going to see some real progress here soon, and don't want to release anything yet, but you'll start to see some of those things pop up. We got to recognize our past. It's really important, and we know that.
Appreciate it, John. Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it. It's been great so far today. We're looking for a great another, what do we got? 8.5 hours to go.
All right. Hang in there, guys. Appreciate you. Take care.
Thanks,
John.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
There you go. John Cunningham, Director of Athletics. Tonk, thank you. Don't spend it all on protein bars, Keegan.
They say that to Tonk. He's bigger than me.
Aaron didn't.